I'm elbow-deep in hay and goat feed when I hear the laughter. Too crisp, too curated to belong to the fields. At first, I think it's the wind playing tricks again. Out here in Fair Acres, Missouri, sounds bounce off the wide-open sky like rubber balls. But this laughter has perfume on it. Chardonnay breath. It doesn't belong to the earth. It belongs to someone who's never held a shovel in her life. I straighten, brush straw off my jeans and squint toward the ridge overlooking the lower field. That's when I see them. A cluster of pastel cardigans and woven picnic baskets. Folding chairs. Big floppy hats. Kids running wild, knocking over water buckets meant for the donkeys. My donkeys. That barn. The one right next to them, painted red with white trim and a handmade, private property, animal treatment facility sign, is mine. Has been for 5 generations. And today of all days it's off limits. It's donkey vaccination day. I walk toward them slowly, jaw tight, chest heavy with that familiar pressure. That pressure I always get right before someone calls me the help, or assumes I'm trespassing on my own land. "Good morning," chirps a voice before I even reach the barn. She's already waving like we're old friends. White woman, late 50s, short bob haircut like it came with an HOA manual. Her name's Cheryl, though around here folks whisper her nickname, Karen with a clipboard. I manage a polite nod. "Morning. What's going on here?" "Oh." He does a twirl like it's a grand reveal. "Just a little impromptu HOA brunch. Our spring fling got rained out last weekend, so we thought, why not do something spontaneous? Isn't this space just divine?" Divine? It smells like donkey sweat and pine disinfectant. She's on my land. On a working barn. Uninvited. And she knows it. But I play it cool like always. Because if I raise my voice, I'm aggressive. If I stand firm, I'm intimidating. A 6-foot-tall black woman in overalls has to be extra gentle around women like Cheryl. I glance at the barn doors. They're cracked open. Inside, a vet tech named Mallory is prepping syringes. The donkeys, all 6 of them, are tethered inside and restless from the noise. "I don't think this is the best place for a picnic," I say carefully. "Oh, honey." Cheryl smiles, tilting her sunglasses down. "This area's part of the HOA green space buffer, isn't it?" "It's not." But the way she says it, it's not a question. It's a claim. I stare at her, a slow burn starting behind my eyes. A slow unraveling of peace. Cheryl's done small things before. Comments, complaints, questioning why my fence was a different shade than regulation beige. But this isn't a suggestion. It's a trespass. And I know, deep in my gut, this is just the beginning. By the next morning I find a pamphlet nailed to my mailbox. Fair Acres HOA presents Community Picnic Series, Barnyard Bliss Edition. Underneath is a picture of my barn. My donkeys. My daughter's painted "No Entry" sign cropped out of frame. My hands tremble as I tear it down. I try to tell myself it's just a misunderstanding. Maybe Cheryl thought the space was communal. Maybe she didn't see the signs. But a tiny voice in the back of my mind whispers, she knew. He always knows. At the feed store folks are already talking. "You letting the HOA use your land now?" Old Buck grins through tobacco-stained teeth. "Didn't know you went corporate on us." I don't answer. I just clench my jaw and keep walking. Because if I speak, it'll come out as fire. Back home I dig through county plat maps, dusty and yellowed at the edges. The barn is well within my boundary lines. Always has been. But when I email the HOA for clarification, I get nothing for 2 days. The ping. From Cheryl DeWitt, HOA chairwoman. "Dear Ms. Langston, thank you for reaching out. The barn area appears to fall within the green buffer zone under communal access guidelines. As such, we've designated it as an occasional use space for approved community gatherings. Please refer to the bylaws under Section 8.1.4, Land Use Flexibility Clauses. We appreciate your cooperation and commitment to unity in Fair Acres. Warm regards, Cheryl." Unity. I stare at the email, rereading it. There's no map. No evidence. Just a claim tucked under lawyer-scented language and wrapped in passive-aggressive cheer. They're testing me, testing if I'll fold. Testing how loud a black woman can get before someone calls the sheriff. 3 days later I find trampled straw, sunflower stems stripped clean, and a broken latch on the barn door. The donkeys are fine. Skittish but fine. But Mallory's supply box is overturned. One of the vials, temperature-sensitive and expensive as sin, is shattered on the floor. It's a special serum, custom-made for one of our rescues who nearly died last spring. I text Cheryl. No response. Instead, the next morning, a shiny new sign appears staked near the road. Fair Acres HOA Community Barn. Sponsored by Cheryl DeWitt. She put her name on it. Like she branded it. I feel it then, that weight in my stomach thick and slow. This isn't just a misunderstanding. This is a claim of ownership. Over land, over space, over me. I remember the way Cheryl looked at me that first day. Not as a neighbor. Not even as a person. More like a complication. Something in the way. A wall she didn't expect to have to climb over. But she's climbing. And I know in my bones if I don't stop her now, she'll take everything. Saturday morning, I march straight to Cheryl's front porch. It's wrapped in white lattice and brimming with hydrangeas, all too neat for someone so messy with boundaries. She opens the door wearing lemon yellow and a smile like nothing's wrong. We need to talk, I say. Of course, Mariah, she chirps, voice sweet as pesticide. Would you like to come in? I'd rather we keep this outside. She crosses her arms and leans on the doorframe like she owns the weather. What's on your mind? You've crossed a line. That barn isn't yours. You've damaged property, ignored warnings, and now you're putting my animals at risk. I need you to remove that sign, cancel your events, and stay off my land. They're firm. Cheryl's smile doesn't move, but her eyes narrow just slightly, like I'm a smudge on her window she can't quite wipe away. Oh, Mariah, she sighs. I think there's a lot of confusion here. We've always treated that barn as shared space. The previous owners. My great-grandfather built that barn. There have never been previous owners. Just my family. This land has always been ours. That catches her. Just for a second. A flash of discomfort like she forgot whose name is on the deed. She recovers fast. Well, you know how the HOA works. It's not about ownership, it's about community standards. You're not above that. Her words slice. Not because of what she says, but because of what she means. I'm not above her. I'm not above the invisible rules she clutches like pearls. Unspoken rules about who gets to host events, who gets grace, who gets space. I'm supposed to smile, step back, and be grateful for the invitation, even when it's to my own land. Instead, I walk away. But I'm not done. That night, I pull the surveyor's report from our last property reassessment and scan it, highlight it, email it, to everyone. I print copies and hand-deliver them to neighbors. Most take them politely. Some won't meet my eyes. One older couple says, "Good for you, honey," like I just told them I'm taking a night class. Only one person says what I need to hear. "Well, that's illegal as hell," Mallory mutters, flipping through the papers. "You want help proving it?" More than anything. We dig. Within a week, we find footage from her last barn brunch on Facebook. Cheryl's standing at the front like she's hosting a TED Talk in riding boots, calling it our community's pastoral gem. There's no mention of me. No acknowledgement that someone lives here, works here, sweats here. Mallory digs deeper. Finds the insurance claim Cheryl filed last fall, listing peripheral structures near the HOA trail as insured by the association. He tried to insure my barn. And then it happens. At 3 p.m. on a Tuesday while I'm hauling fencing from the pasture, a white Tahoe with an HOA logo parks at the edge of my field. Two men get out. Clipboards. Polo shirts. One white, one Hispanic, both polite but guarded. "Ms. Langston," the taller one says. "We've been asked to assess recent structural updates to the HOA utility building." I blink. "The what?" He points to my barn. I laugh. Loud and sharp. "That's my barn. And unless your clipboard can prove otherwise, you're trespassing." They hesitate, then exchange a look. We're just doing what Cheryl instructed. I step forward until I'm only a breath away. Well, Cheryl's wrong. And if you come back without a warrant or a county order, I'll have you escorted out by the sheriff. That night, a letter appears in my mailbox. Subject: Violation Notice. Unauthorized use of community facility. Aggressive behavior reported. Pending fine, $1,200. The paper trembles in my hands. This isn't about community. It's about erasure. Cheryl is rewriting my history, rebranding my land, repainting the story so she comes out clean, and I come out angry, unstable, dangerous. She's using every tool in her privileged toolbox, smiles, bylaws, bureaucracy, to grind me down. And I know if I don't fight back now, she'll win. But I've got something she doesn't. Roots, truth, and a growing army of people who've seen what she really is. It's the morning of the HOA Harvest Jubilee, a name Cheryl trademarked on Facebook like she was launching a county fair. I wake to the thud of tires on gravel, the screech of folding chairs being dragged across dirt. My barn, my land looks like the set of a lifestyle magazine shoot. Bunting flaps across the fence I built with my father. A caterer's van is parked right over my wildflower beds. And Cheryl, draped in a paisley shawl and holding a wireless mic, is directing people like she's staging the Sound of Music. I stand at the top of the slope in my boots, arms folded, phone in my pocket. I give it 5 minutes before someone notices me. Takes 2. Cheryl turns, spots me and brightens with a condescending sort of glee. She walks over like she's descending from royalty. Well, if it isn't the belle of the barn herself, she calls, eyes scanning my work shirt like it's dirt on her property. You're just in time for the goat yoga demonstration. I don't move. This ends today, I say. Her smile falters just for a second. Excuse me. You've ignored cease and desist letters. You filed a false insurance claim. You've harassed my vet, damaged my barn, and filed a fraudulent fine through the HOA portal using fake site classification. She chuckles. Mariah, you're making this bigger than it needs to be. Look around, everyone's happy. The community loves this. Sometimes we need to put personal feelings aside for the greater good. I take a step closer. You mean you're good? She leans in, voice low now. You want to be the angry woman, fine. But you're going to lose. No one's going to believe you. You don't have standing, Mariah. You're just part of the scenery here. That does it. I pull my phone from my pocket. Swipe. Hit play. The video isn't long. Just 45 seconds. But the audio's sharp. Cheryl's voice from her brunch last week. Well, technically the barn doesn't belong to her. We've filed the paperwork to adjust the records. It's not like she's really using it for anything important. It's basically just her animals. They can be relocated. Then a laugh. A few gasps. Then Cheryl again. People like her don't really understand shared ownership. They're too used to taking orders, not giving them. Around us, the hum of conversation dies. Someone drops a paper plate. A child calls out, "Mommy, what's happening?" Cheryl stares at the phone, stunned, silent. I speak loud enough for the crowd. I've sent this to my lawyer, the county assessor, and local media. You filed false documents to reclassify my private barn as communal property, then leveraged your position to fine me into silence. That's fraud, Cheryl. And racial harassment. Mallory steps up beside me, holding a clipboard and a printed copy of the county plot map. Here's the real survey. Stamped. Verified. The barn sits 43 feet inside Langston property lines. A murmur ripples through the crowd. Faces turn. Whispers gather speed. Cheryl's still frozen. She stammers, "This is all. This is a misunderstanding. You're twisting my words." But the performance is unraveling. The wine moms are backing away. The HOA board member with the droopy mustache glances at the video again, suddenly studying the horizon like he'd rather be anywhere else. I lower the phone. "You can pack up now," I say, "before I have you removed." And for the first time since she stepped onto my land, Cheryl doesn't have anything to say. She turns, stumbles a little in her wedges and walks off, leaving behind a microphone still hot with the echo of her downfall. I feel it, the hush of vindication. The clean, crisp snap of justice finally finding its voice. But this isn't over yet. Not until everyone sees exactly who she is, and what she tried to steal. By that evening the footage has gone viral, at least locally. Mallory sends it to her cousin, who writes for a regional blog that covers community conflicts. He slaps a headline on it so sharp it might as well bleed. HOA chairwoman caught attempting to seize Black family's barn for picnic events. Within hours, Facebook is ablaze. Comments pile in faster than I can read them. "This is disgusting. Fire her. Classic entitlement. She really thought no one would notice. How do you try to steal a barn?" But Cheryl's not done. At 6:03 p.m., the HOA page posts a statement. "We regret the confusion surrounding recent events. The space in question was believed to be under communal guidelines. We support diversity and inclusion in our community, and any misunderstanding will be resolved through proper legal channels. Misunderstanding, I mutter, pacing my porch. That woman could gaslight a campfire. Then comes the email from Cheryl herself, bolder than ever. Mariah, I'm sure you understand how quickly things spiral when emotions are high. I'm offering you one last chance to resolve this quietly. If you remove your posts and confirm there was no intent to slander the HOA, we'll waive your violation fine and allow you to apply for permitted barn use like everyone else. Let's not turn a neighborly disagreement into something bigger. Regards, Cheryl DeWitt. Like everyone else, I whisper. She still thinks I'm asking for permission. But I don't reply. Because the next morning someone else does. A white SUV rolls up my drive at 9:14 a.m. 2 men and 1 woman step out, all in tailored suits. County assessors. Clipboard people, but the kind with teeth. Ms. Langston, the lead man says. We've received multiple complaints about potential HOA fraud. We'd like to verify property boundaries and documentation. I gesture to the field. You'll find the stakes just where my granddad left them. But you might want to visit Cheryl next. She's the one redrawing history. They nod and go to work. An hour later I get the call I didn't know I needed. Mariah. It's Mrs. Ellison, the quiet widow who lives 2 houses over. You should come by. I think I have something that might help. Her hands tremble slightly as she pushes a USB drive across the table. Security footage. My cameras face the field. I saw what Cheryl was doing, but I didn't know what to say. I'm sorry I waited. I click through the footage that night. There it is, time-stamped and undeniable. Cheryl, 1 week before the picnic, spray painting over my private property sign. Then later, dragging the HOA community barn placard from the back of her SUV. She knew exactly what she was doing. That night I forward the footage to the county. To the blog. To every neighbor who asked, "Are you sure she meant it like that?" And I save the best for last. The footage gets picked up by a local news station. Exclusive. HOA chairwoman caught fabricating ownership to seize black-owned barn for private use. They run the segment with my voiceover. It wasn't about a picnic. It was about power. She saw something that didn't belong to her and decided to take it anyway, because she thought no one would stop her. At noon the next day, Cheryl holds a press conference outside the HOA clubhouse. She's in pearls, hair perfect, face pale. I've always supported unity and fairness in Fair Acres, she says into a wall of microphones. This has all been a miscommunication blown out of proportion. But she's interrupted by a man from the county's property commission. We'll let the court decide, he says. We're launching a full investigation into fraudulent insurance filings and abuse of authority. The cameras swing to Cheryl. She blinks, sways slightly, then mutters, "No further questions," and bolts inside past reporters and flashing bulbs. Within a week, the HOA board holds an emergency vote. Cheryl is removed as chairwoman. The insurance company launches its own investigation. Several residents step forward to say they felt pressured to approve Cheryl's initiatives or risk fines. Turns out I wasn't the first target, just the loudest one. Mallory shows up with cupcakes that night. Victory tastes like lemon buttercream, she says, grinning. We sit on the barn porch watching the sun sink behind the hills. The donkeys nuzzle her hands, calm again. I think she really thought she'd win, I say. Mallory shrugs. That's what they always think. Until someone stands up. And we did. With receipts. With truth. And with the one thing Cheryl could never manufacture. Community that chose justice over comfort. They arrested Cheryl on a Tuesday. It wasn't dramatic. No handcuffs on the lawn. No shouting. Just 2 deputies in plain clothes, walking her out of the HOA clubhouse after a quiet warrant was served. But someone filmed it through their car window. Uploaded it to TikTok. Set it to dramatic music. That's what entitlement looks like when it's finally told no. The video hit 1.3 million views in 3 days. Turns out, filing false insurance claims and altering property records carries real consequences. Especially when you do it on camera and target someone by race. The county charged Cheryl with fraud, misuse of office, and malicious property misrepresentation. But the worst blow, she lost everything that mattered to her. The HOA board dissolved under investigation. Her husband, who never knew a thing, though the footage showed him helping drag tables onto my land, filed for separation. Her catering company lost its corporate clients, and her name became poison in town Facebook groups. Even her best wine mom friends started dropping carefully worded statements about how they never supported the event in the first place. Funny how that works. But the real victory wasn't in her downfall. It was in the way people changed. The mailman who used to give me a nod and nothing more now asks how my animals are doing. The couple across the street brought over soup and apologized for staying silent too long. Even the grumpy old guy who once told me my natural lawn didn't fit HOA aesthetic standards handed me a plant. No words. Just a small pot of jasmine, roots wrapped in silence. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. It ripples. I walk the fence every morning now. The barn is mine again, fully, loudly, undeniably mine. The donkeys graze without tension. The chickens wander freely. The sun spills over the hills like it did before all this started. But something is different inside me. I used to shrink a little when I walked into HOA meetings, used to brace myself before speaking. There was always this weight, this quiet calculation. How much space am I allowed to take up? Now I know. I take up all of it. One Saturday they invite me to speak at the town hall. Mallory nudges me before I go up. Make it count. I clear my throat. The mic feeds back a little, then settles. I want to thank everyone who stood up, I begin. And everyone who finally chose to see. I let that sit. This wasn't just about a barn. It was about a belief that some people belong and others don't. That power can hide behind policies. That theft can dress up as community. I look at the front row. Mallory. Mrs. Ellison. Even the grocer's son who once asked me if my land was a petting zoo for fun. And I want to be clear. Justice doesn't end with one person's downfall. It begins when a community chooses to protect the people it once ignored. I step back, heartbeat loud in my ears. The room stands. Not out of pity. Not out of shock. But because for once the truth got to take center stage and stay there. Back home I hang a new sign above the barn door. It's carved from cedar, etched with my grandfather's brand. Placed in land. No trespassing. No exceptions. The wind catches it just right. And for the first time in a long time, I breathe in peace that wasn't borrowed. It was earned.